Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn it.
Wow, that has got to be an omen, what you just saw right there. Probably has never happened. Green lights on both the light coming off on the Moana exit off of 580 and the Kitski intersection on Moana Lane. Not sure we've ever had consecutive green lights there in the 10,000 trips I've made to the Peppermill. Anyway, it is the last day that local legend and favorite Mr. Z is in town. It's interesting, when he's here, the games, yes, they are good, but the action, I'm probably not going to be in many hands against him compared to the amount of hands I'm in against the other guys trying to get in hands with him. Always funny how that kind of thing works. Going to be one of the earliest starts in vlog history in a 5-10 game here at Peppermill. Vlog 327 would come your way from Peppermill, Reno. A place where you'll find multiple statues out in the parking lot. A place where Bugsy recently scooped a bomb pot with trips on one board and somehow with 10 high on the other. And a place where the game would get started before 10 a.m., given Mr. Z in attendance. One had to hope that this first hand could be an indicator of good things to come on this day. We get an early position open and 2 calls. The button raises to 150. Not a player who is going to raise with a lot of hands, and I am in the small blind with pocket aces. Obviously, I'm re-raising here. I make it 350. Others fold, and the button, well, damn it, folds too. That was followed up by basically the same scenario minus the 3-bet. So when I'd get ace, king of hearts, I would 3-bet. And once again, I wouldn't get action. I usually talk sports intermittently during these vlogs, but I want to use this opportunity to point out that I have always been a history guy, and by extension, a Ken Burns guy. And his upcoming series on the American Revolution that's coming in November is something that I don't think I could possibly be looking forward to more. Mr. W would sit out in the game. He'd buy in for 500 and was basically playing every single hand, which is not really a shock. And after he lost the first 150, I would look down at kings. Perfect time, if there is one, to limp raise. And right after I do that, sure enough, he raises to 80. Folds back to me, and I obviously put him all in for the 210 more that he has in his stack. I thought this would be a snap call with any hand that he could have. The old Mr. W would. I guess he's wising up to it. In this case, he decides to muck, and I would win the pot uncontested. I believe he said he had pocket 4s in that spot. Will I ever see a flop on this vlog? Well, the answer was yes. But 3 hours in, I couldn't get a hand even worth mentioning. A lot of small pairs that didn't flop sets, so despite winning those hands pre-flop that you just saw, after those first 3 hours, I was basically nowhere on this day. I look down at ace king of hearts in the hijack and make it 35. Cutoff calls, button calls, and Mr. W defends the big blind. With 145 in, the flop is king queen 4 with 2 clubs, giving me top pair, top kicker. Big blind checks, and I bet out for $85. The cutoff grabs 2 black chips and 2 green chips and tosses them into the pot. Others fold, and it's back on me. This is win. It is nice to know your opponents. And this opponent is a very solid player, one whose play I have a lot of respect for, and doesn't seem to make too many mistakes against me. The best case scenario here is that he has Jack-10 of clubs, which is obviously not a great scenario. It's also possible, though unlikely, that he could be doing this with ace-king. Other than that, all of the hands that he's going to be doing this with have me beat. So I fold the hand, not thinking that I would get a reveal, but I do. He shows king-queen for top 2, and we avoid further damage. We then get one of the funnier moments I've seen in a while. The gentleman in the white was first up and wanted a seat, and the player who I just lost that hand to said, "Give me $25 and the seat is yours." And he says, No, I'm giving you 50. He said, "I raise." He said, No. Your negotiating skills aren't good enough, and I must give you a little more than that on general principle, which I thought was hilarious. A little later on, I would look down at pocket sevens under the gun and open at 35. Mr. Z calls in the low jack, and the big blind calls. So with 110 in the pot, the flop would roll out 5, 6, 7 all spades, giving me top set. It is a monotone board, but still a pretty good spot for me. Big blind checks, and I bet out for the number of the greatest of all time. Also seen here on this day, and the low jack folds. The big blind, who I certainly thought would be going out here with a wide percentage of his range, doesn't. Which is exactly the opposite of how I thought this would go with these two opponents. So with 270 in, the turn is an offsuit 9. Not ideal with a one-liner now out there, but it's not going to stop me from betting. I make it 130, thinking that he is going to have just the ace of spades here a decent amount of the time. He thinks about it for a second and makes the call. So, with 530 in, the river is very interesting. It is the 9 of spades, so I fill up, and the flush hits. He checks, and hoping my read about him having the ace is correct, I overbet the pot, making it 600, thinking that he's just not going to be in here with the king or the queen that many times. Obviously, he could be in here with the 8 of spades and was waiting for me to do this, but once he didn't snap call the river, obviously we rule that out. So I had to wonder what was going on in this spot, but he does give this a lot of thought, and for him, it's not something I usually see. Usually an opponent that's going to know exactly what he's going to do. Also an opponent who has upgraded his hat game lately, and that may or may not be because of me. Anyway, he would think about this for about another minute before showing pocket queens with the queen of spades and throwing them into the muck. So if you want to ask me what surprised me about that, it was not that he folded the river. I would have expected that he would be folding queens on the river to a $600 bet from me in that spot. I just would never have expected him to slow play them pre-flop. So sometimes you figure it out, sometimes you don't. In that hand, I almost did. But if I had thought that he could have the queen there, I would have bet a hell of a lot less than I ended up betting. Unfortunately for me, that would kind of be the apex of this day. I was up a couple hundred at that point, but over the next few hours, to my amazement with Mr. Z in town, the game just fizzled out. And all of a sudden we're down to four-handed, and then to make it worse, probably the best player in Reno would then walk in the door, who usually is a tournament grinder, but in this case was playing some cash, and I would make a river call against him that I knew was a mistake, and I was cursing myself for the entire drive home because I couldn't believe I had made this mistake. Anyway, I would still book a win, but to say it wasn't a big one would be an understatement. Oh man, all right, so something happened that I never expected, and that's that the game would just fizzle out. It actually would start a mixed game, and that would draw out a couple of the players from the game. I never would have thought on the last day Mr. Z would be here that would happen, but it did. The game got really lousy. I ended up making a river call in a four-handed game that I shouldn't have made and was pissed off at myself on the way out for it, ultimately booking a $100 win on a day that had all the makings of an actual good-sized win. I'm unable to book one, and I'm not happy about it.
Hey Ben, what's going on? Bugsy here. I am up at the WSOP circuit event up here in Lake Tahoe. I'm going to jump into a couple of events and see how I do.
So the mini main, 523 entrants, 52 people remaining for the final day. We got a couple of familiar faces in the final tables. Nick L sitting at 14th, and Naked Adam, I believe he's sitting somewhere at 10th. Not 100% sure, but we got some representation from the Pepper Mill in the mini main. On the event that I'm in, Sean V is also in the event. He's sitting at about 80K right now. Average stack is about 23. I'm sitting at about 35. Let's see if we can bring some money back home to Reno. Hey Ben, how's it going? I'm reporting back from the WSOP again. I'm inside the fairly new room up here at Lake Tahoe. They've got about 13, 14 tables. Typically, what I've seen is even during the WSOP, the largest game has been 2-3, so that's been kind of interesting. But here's one thing is, at every dealer change during the no limit game, they have a PLO single board bomb pot. And one night, they allowed us to do 3 or 4 in a row. So that was pretty interesting. But all in all, they got a beautiful room up here and comfortable seats and some pretty good dealers. So I'm gonna get back into the tournament, but let's see if we can continue to do well. I've cashed 2 out of 3 so far.
All right, thank you, Bugsy. Glad to hear you got a couple of catches in there up at Lake Tahoe. I have amazingly never played a hand of poker in a Lake Tahoe casino. Now, they're an hour away from Reno, so it's usually just a case of, well, if I'm going to play there, I might as well play at the Peppermill. I only had the Tahoe home game that I got invited to back in 2021 that made for a fun vlog. I knew one of 2 things was going to happen in that home game. Either I was going to win or I was going to get invited back. But it probably wasn't going to be both. I am not sure I'm going to be able to do a vlog out of Reno coming up this coming week, as I am going to Vegas. It's primarily a work trip, though I am going to indulge in Golden Knights Lightning on that trip, thanks to Scott Bean, who hooked me up with the tickets. And in case any of you guys were wondering, the price of Las Vegas hotels has not exactly gone down. I wanted to stay at Park MGM like I did last time I did one of these. But when they want $928 for a Wednesday and a Thursday night, I'm out. Cannot stay with them. Cannot play with them. Cannot hang with them. Can't do it. So I had to go down to Planet Hollywood, about $400 less for those 2 nights. Pretty amazing. The way Vegas hotel room rates have skyrocketed. But still, you know, if you're a lover of going to Vegas, as I always have been, and now primarily just thanks to the Golden Knights, I still remain, it just kind of stinks. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there to wrap up this edition of the vlog. I will get a short in coming up within the next week as well. So hit those like and subscribe buttons and follow along on Instagram at bendeach. We'll see you back here next time.
To fight, to die on, and this is my game to play, to claim a brand new name. Oh, and I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm a bit nervous that I might screw everything up that I've ever done. But what's the point of living if you ain't having fun? I guess I'll try this, try that, might miss, gotta find what I'm good at. I guess I look here, look there, over where am I scared, where am I at? I gotta make it in this life, whatever makes me happy, know I'm doing things